Up next is James Haddon from Polypipe, who will be sharing his presentation on exploring innovation in particulate removal for highway surface water management.
So just to run through today's agenda, we want to actually look at how Polypipe can reduce the contamination in the highway sector, understand how our roads can be more climate resilient, and due to climate change, how we can cope with more extreme weather events, and obviously discover if our roads can become more aware to their surrounding environments to help achieve the green assets and biodiversity targets set by Highways England. Just a quick introduction on who we are as Polypipe. Polypipe Civils and Green Urbanisation are market leaders in the infrastructure and landscape sectors. And if you haven't already checked out our titled sponsor page today, please do. So as per the title of today's event and this presentation, we want to talk about contamination. One of the main problems for us as drainage engineers is actually coping with road runoff. Road runoff occurs in dry weather events, and this is actually particles from our tyres, brake dust and oil spills. And when it rains, if the drainage system isn't actually up to speed with the suds, this can actually carry these pollutions into our streams and rivers. So the pollution from car tyre wear can actually be up to 1,000 times worse than what comes out of the car's exhaust. This is obviously increasing with the popularity of bigger vehicles such as SUVs and the switch to electric vehicles being much heavier due to their batteries. So what's the solution, and how can we all work together to arm our drainage infrastructure with the tools and solutions to actually manage these surface water contaminants? Motorway traffic has grown 28% in the last 20 years and is projected to grow a further 26% in the next 25 years. So this will lead obviously to an increase in the contaminants that will need to be managed by our surface water runoff. As a business, Polypipe has grown and always challenged traditional materials. For example, introducing plastic over your traditional materials like concrete and clay. We're now introducing a number of ecosystems that will not only clean and look to reuse that water, to create green assets and social values for our end users, but actually create biodiversity for, again, to help achieve those KPIs set by Highways England. Climate change is at the forefront of everybody's agenda, and there's an ever-increasing pressure on our drainage systems. And poor drainage designs can actually affect the performance of our roads, creating safety risks. If we look at the delivery plans set out by Highways England, 3 of the main KPIs that stand out for me, and I think how Polypipe can help achieve, are how do we improve surface water runoff from our network, particularly in high-risk flood areas? Can we clear the debris quicker and more efficiently? And thirdly, Highways England are looking to incorporate smart technologies to increase our understanding of our drainage assets. How can we keep our green sections green by biodiversity and smart sud systems? Over recent years, Polypipe have made huge advantages in technologies, and we're now talking about the ability to integrate our drainage networks with smart ecosystems and technologies using weather data, cloud-based software incorporated in our systems to cleverly manage high pressure storm events before they hit, and actually have the ability to reduce our attenuation levels to prepare for that storm event and reuse it into our green assets. This is similar to what we use on our blue and green roofs. Drainage also plays a key part to our biodiversity KPIs. There's no green without blue. If, again, referring back to the delivery plan set out, there's a lot of KPIs around encouraging upland tree planting and how we can actually improve our boundaries in the most valuable spaces, such as natural parks and areas of outstanding natural beauty. Again, I believe Polypipe can help achieve these KPIs as part of our green urbanisation agenda. I'm now just going to play a brief introduction video to green urbanisation and our plan, if you'd like, for our future of our business. So I hope that video helps rethink our future in the highway sector and really think about how we design drainage from the ground up. So when we talk about good drainage design, we're often referred back to the 4 pillars of SUDS. And for us as drainage engineers, this is sort of the benchmark for good drainage design. So green urbanisation is actually the next evolution of SUDS and the next generation of SUDS. It introduces technologies that optimise our green assets through an extended and integrated sustainable water management network. So by embedding green assets as part of the SUDS management train, both the green assets and the volumetric are actually improved. This doesn't only increase our biodiversity targets, it helps increase our sustainability of the greenery, increases our system's capacity, and can reduce the portable water demand. So that's it from me. I hope you found that useful, and I'm now going to answer a few Q&A.
Thanks for your presentation, James. We're just waiting for some questions to come in now, so please add those in the chat box to the right of your screen. So your presentation reminded me of the images I saw over the weekend of flash flooding on the M42, and it feels like we're seeing an increase of that kind of flooding on the strategic network. What does the industry need to do in terms of improving attenuation to address that? And what are the main barriers, do you think, to improving the situation?
Yeah, I think that's a really key point at the minute, especially with climate change. We're seeing longer dry periods and then heavier downpours, so we can have sort of a month's worth of rain within the space of 2 hours. So we just need to be conscious of those contaminants and particulates that we need to remove. And to answer your question, we either need to upsize our systems or as all the hot topics today have been around sort of electric vehicles and the future of the roads, how can we all adapt and work together and come up with ideas to help our drainage systems, including the green planting and sort of biodiversity targets? I think that's the best way for us as an industry to definitely achieve those KPIs set by Highways England and increase the capacity of the drainage systems that we've already got in place.
But that's going to need quite major investment, isn't it?
It is. But I think we either act or, it's only going to get worse with not only with the popular demand in the heavier vehicles, as such electrics. We're also seeing more people travel now on the roads as per the stats in my presentation. So.
Yeah, so that's quite a challenge. But at the start, you mentioned the greater weight of electric vehicles increasing the volume of tyre particulates that are left on the road surface. What challenge does that create for managing pollution in surface water runoff? Do we have the technology to manage that, or do we need new solutions, do you think?
Yeah, we're constantly looking at innovations, and we are introducing new sort of downstream particulate cleaners, for example, and increasing even in our green assets. How can we clean that as part of a unique system, and then actually refill or keep our green assets green by passive irrigation, as similar to what they do on blue and green roofs. There's no reason why we can't use that technology on our roads, and actually by again planting and natural filtration, we can cope with those pollutions and particulates at source without just pumping them downstream. And part of drainage design, we've always been sort of taught to shift the water as quick as possible and actually get it off the roads and just give it to someone else's problem. But if we can actually control it and take care of it on the job, why can't we do that? So yeah, there's lots to think about, and I think we're learning as we shift towards that net zero and the electric vehicles ourselves. So it's really interesting to hear the talks today on collaboration and how Polypipe can hopefully be part of those talks with Highways England and our clients and our contractors to keep our innovation and stay ahead of the game on those hot topics.
So we had a couple of delegate questions that come in. Lorna Ball asks, how do we balance the risk of over-designing for future against achieving a current sustainable and lean solution?
Sorry, Claire, can you repeat that?
Sorry. She asked, how do we balance the risk of over-designing for the future against achieving a current sustainable and lean solution?
Yeah, again, a really good question. I think we need to all work together, talk to each other, and collaboratively come up with that solution by, again, not over engineering. The last thing we want to do is plow a ton of money, as you said, a ton of investment that's not required. We need to understand what's going to happen when we do go fully electric and understand our weather events. And if we can use smart data and cloud-based data, as we mentioned, why can't we manage those and actually naturally drain that water down in the attenuation tanks before that storm event hits, so that we're already prepared for it? And we can do that, and we're looking at that now on our blue and green roofs.
So another question has come in from Rick Ashton, saying, James, given your comments regarding tyre particle attrition and its contamination on water runoff, what are your thoughts on plastic and rubber crumb being incorporated into asphalt surfaces?
Yeah, I heard that today, and I've heard that being sort of a topic that's been thrown around today. So I thought that was really interesting because, again, I'm not aware of that personally. So again, that's something I've learned today, and hopefully I can take away and sort of feed back into the business, and we can hopefully adapt and, again, innovate around that solution, and hopefully that can help with water runoff.
Good to learn about that. So in addition to the presentation you've put to us just now, you've also released some additional content on the Swapcard platform for delegates. Can you tell the audience a little bit about what they can learn from that if they watch it later?
Yes, yeah. So it's part of our sort of suite of presentations. I don't want to ruin it too much. I don't want to give away too much, but please make sure you can log in and stay tuned. And it is really useful on how we're looking to advance onto that future technology as well.
So you can't give some people some nuggets of information about what they might learn from it, just to entice them in.
Yeah. Well, it's all around innovation and just sort of meeting those KPIs. I think it's really key that as a market leader, we're really conscious of not only our contractors' KPIs but our clients' KPIs as well. And we're always trying to stay ahead of the game and achieve those together.
So if there's one piece of advice you could give to people watching today, what could they do better or do differently to make a real difference in terms of water attenuation?
So in terms of attenuation, I think in terms of road projects, we've always been sort of design and build, and this is how we've done it, and traditional materials and traditional methods. Now with Highways England sort of announcing their KPIs in advance, I think collaboratively we need to sort of try and achieve those and sort of step out of our comfort zone, try new innovations together, talk to our supply chain, and all work together, and definitely bring in don't be scared to try new things. especially on smart technologies, the likes of BIM and stuff like that, and incorporate that into our drainage networks, and including off-site solutions, so we can speed up efficiency as well for delivering jobs back to the clients. Not just about storing water. You know, if we're constantly talking, I think it will just speed up the whole process.
So a lot of we were doing future of floods last week, and a lot of the solutions we were looking at were nature-based solutions. What do you think the roads industry could learn from some of the things that the flood industry are starting to put into place? Are there elements there that we could share?
Definitely. And if we look at like the smart ecosystems in the cities and the sponge cities that they're doing there, if you think, you know, that they still have the same amount of downpour in a much smaller space, they're dealing with it in some terms a lot better than how we are dealing with it in infrastructure projects. Again, they're trying to hold on to it and use it as a resource, whereas we're trying to shift it and get it downstream and make it someone else's problems. But yeah, I think there's a lot we could learn by looking at other sectors and bringing that into the roads as well.
That's great. So what other advice would you give to our delegates today of what they could do differently, and perhaps sort of what innovations they could take on?
Yeah, so I think as well as attenuating, I think in terms of like flow control and vortexes, obviously we have a restricted outflow. And I think, again, by oversizing our pipes, we can actually look to attenuate for a longer period of the run, rather than just getting it all downstream again. So backfilling it and using the system to its full capacity, that's always been sort of overlooked, I think, as a drainage engineer. And also, definitely, I know I've already said it, but the green assets and helping achieve those biodiversity targets is, for us, that's how we see it going, and that's the future for us. So if we can talk about that and work together again, I think that's the way forward.
Mm-hmm. So I've had a question that's come in from Dave Bennett saying, some have commented today that Highways England may be risk averse when it comes to innovation. How do you approach bringing innovation to the market in attenuation? I think we've kind of covered that a little bit, but sort of, what can you do to better support them? Because I think they're just challenged in how they actually get it onto the network.
Yeah, and it is challenging, and obviously, you know, they've always done it a certain way, and it takes one person to sort of say we're willing to try it. So we are willing to support from design stages right over to handover. And as a market leader and a trusted supplier, we work with local authorities, we work with consultants, and we work with designer engineers, and Highways England. So not only do we provide departures from standards to get those products approved as trial sites, and then once that process has been done, obviously they're more likely to keep doing it. So we're trying to help them step out of their comfort zone and you know, again, learn together and just keep pushing the boundaries for drainage design. And I think we're making real breakthroughs, especially with the KPIs that have been announced for this 5-year period.
So do you have examples of projects where you've delivered that kind of innovative design that people have actually taken the risk? Do you think you could share those perhaps more readily?
Yes, yeah, and we're looking to do. There's one under. I don't know if I can say it. I think I can. So the A38 we're working on at the minute. Hopefully, I'm not going to get anyone into any trouble, but we're pushing the boundary in terms of not only digitalisation from design to speed up the process, but all the way over to trying new things and off-site solutions to improve health and safety for the guys that are working on the hard shoulder. So there's multiple benefits when it comes to drainage, and for road jobs, it's often the one thing that can slow us down, but it's the most important aspect of that whole job. They can't lay the tarmac until the drainage is in. So it's it's overlooked because you can't see it, but it's a very important part of the job.
I'm going to have to stop you there. Unfortunately, that's all we've got time for today. Because now it's time to go over to our final panel discussion of the day.
Brilliant. Thanks, Claire.
Thank you.